today's chief guest, His Excellency Dr. Abdullah bin Umar Naseef, President World Muslim Congress, Mr. Khalid Al-Maina, Editor-in-Chief Arab News, Dr. Rashad bin Hashim Hassan, Vice Chairman South Asian Mossasa, Mr. Zaid Ali Khan, Editor-in-Chief Siyasat Daily, Hyderabad, India, Professor Ahmed Abdul Ali, Principal Al-Noor International School, distinguished guests, my Saudi brothers, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you today on this seminar, to the seminar on Indo-Arab ties, which is being organized as part of the India Festival in Jeddah, first ever India Festival. It's a very important topic, and I'm sure that all of us who are sitting in this hall would be looking forward to the views of our distinguished speakers here. I would just like to set the tone for the seminar by a few comments and a few words. As you're aware, India and West Asia have a long history of land and sea trade between them. Commercial relations between India and the Mesopotamia region began as early as 3000 BC, and between India and Egypt through the intermediary ports of Yemen from as long as 1000 BC. And before that, as early as 255 BC, Ashoka sent Buddhist monks as ambassadors to establish relations with several countries like Syria, Egypt, and Macedonia. In 711 AD, about 100 years after the establishment of Islam, Sindh was conquered by a small Arab army, and incidentally, this was about the same time when Islam captured Spain. This small army could not, however, make much headway into the rest of India because of the strong Gurjara and Rajput rulers to the east. However, the Arab rule of Sindh continued for the next several centuries till it was integrated under the Delhi Sultanates. However, even long before this Islamic victory in Sindh, there were people of Hijaz and other parts of the world who reached India through desert and through the sea. They were fascinated by India's spices, pearls, precious stones, silk, sandalwood, oud, and perfumes. The Arabs had very high regard for India. Saif-e-Hind, the Indian sword, was their very favorite weapon. The golden age of Indo-Arab contacts was during the reign of Harun al-Rashid and his son al-Ma'mun. During this period, scientists, mathematicians, and philosophers from India made outstanding contributions to the promotion of learning among the Arabs. This was an important contact between Islam and Hindu civilizations. Hindu arts, mathematics, and sciences, especially astronomy, were taken to the great centers of Islamic learning like Baghdad, and from there they spread to Europe. This is how they say that the decimal number writing system of India spread to Europe by the name of Arabic numerals. Many of the Indian musical ideas and instruments also made it to the Arab world either through the Sindh connection or through Persia. And if we specifically take a few contributions, let's say in mathematics, the system of mathematics the Arabs observed in India was adapted by them and given the name of algebra, which means the reunion of broken parts. And algebra, as we know today, is the corruption of the term algebra, which the Arabs gave to the Sanskrit term Bijaganitam, and this term is incidentally still used in India to use for this term. And the several Arab scholars have made studies in this ancient relationship between India and Arab in mathematics. The Arab scholar Muhammad bin Jubair al-Batani studied the Indian use of ratios from the work Retha Ganita. Likewise, the chief exponent of this Indo-Arab amalgam in mathematics was Al-Khwarazmi, who evolved a technique of calculation from India, and this technique, which was named by the Westerners after him as algorithm, and this gave us this modern term algorithm, which is commonly used in computer software. In fact, the Arabs borrowed so much from India in the field of mathematics that even the subject of mathematics is known in Arabic as Hinsa, and the word Mohandis is also derived from the Indian root. And it is also possible, likewise, that Like the technique of algebra, the concept of zero could have also reached the West through the Arabs, because in ancient Indian texts, the zero was used very commonly by several words like pujyam, shunyam, and so on. Likewise, other than mathematics, there have been contributions in astronomy, in scientific learning. In astronomy, for instance, several books were translated into Arabic, like the book of Brahmagupta was translated into Arabic as Zil at-Sindh Hind al-Kabir, and similarly the book of Aryabhatya was translated in Arabic as Zil al-Arhar. This was in 1800. Similarly, several contributions were there. One noted scholar, Sayyid Suleiman Nadawi, in his book Arab or Hind ke Talukat, mentions that mathematicians and philosophers from Sindh made outstanding contributions to the promotion of learning amongst the Arabs. Several physicians were called from Sindh for the treatment of caliphs. Among them were Ganga and Manka, who treated Harun al-Rashid. Another Sindhi doctor who made a mark was a newly converted Muslim, Saleh bin Bhalla, who was originally known as Bhalla. So like these, several the Veds and scientists and scholars went from India to different parts of Arabia. Several books were translated. Even this relationship was reflected in music. And you know very well that when there was this confluence of two great civilizations of India and the Arab world, the Islamic world, the music also imbibed some of the features, and there was a harmony of different elements. So it also came into music, and so we do have this North Indian Hindustani classical music and the South Indian Carnatic music, and North Indian was greatly influenced by the Islamic interaction. Likewise, in architecture, suppose if you take the Indian architecture took a new shape with the advent of Islamic rule in India. New elements of architecture were introduced by this contact: use of shapes, inscription using calligraphy, inlay decoration work, and colored marble, painted plasters, glazed tiles. All these are a result of this interaction, and this gave rise to a particular type of architecture which is known as Indo-Islamic type of architecture, and the great monument Taj Mahal is a living example of this kind of contact. And coming to the recent times, we find that Arabs held very important positions in several kingdoms of India, like the Bahmani rulers of Gulbarga, the Vijayanagar rulers, and also the Qutub Shahi rulers in Hyderabad. The influence of Hadramis, the people who came from Yemen, is still quite evident in India, particularly in Hyderabad. In fact, the locality of Barkas in Hyderabad still resembles a suburb of Yemen where people can speak and understand Arabic. In Hyderabad, we also have another remnants of contacts with the Arab world from North Africa in the form of black Arabs of North African origin who are known as Siddis. And these people had joined the services of the 6th Nizam of Hyderabad in the 19th century, and as the Nizam's African Cavalry Guards, also known as AC Guards. However, if we talk in totality, we can say that India was more influenced by Persia and Central Asian contacts than with the Arab contacts. Nevertheless, these contacts are very significant and form an important part of India's history and culture. Indeed, the relations between India and the Arab world are unique, resting on a civilization and historical foundation, characterized by people-to-people contacts and socio-economic exchanges for thousands of years. Today, we are privileged to have a galaxy of speakers amidst us, as you see on the dais, and they are going to share their views on these very important topics, historical links between India and the Arab world. So without much ado, I would hand over back to C.J. Shah Jahan to carry the proceedings of this seminar forward. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.